Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly presents an interview with Danny Beirne. We are here with Danny Beirne. We are also here with the ASOC Prod, Cat, and the Peanut Gallery. Hi, guys. I am your
Hello,
host, Trevor Stewart, 1308. And we are
hello,
going to
Trevor.
very quickly do our ad read so that we can get into this interview and listen to some of Danny's music, which is exceedingly exciting. Today's pre-rolls brought to you by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, on the Downtown Mall, above the Bricks, 105 West Main Street, Suite 200, between the Green Cauldron and Hamilton's. A great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds, eh, bud? The only thing better than their bud is their customer service, and they have the lowest prices in town, according to my own highly biased research. By which I mean I was incredibly high when I did my biased research. Now, normally we are a very political show, but today we are doing something incredibly different. We are having an interview with a musician, but I'm going to go ahead and say the disclaimer. Any opinions you hear expressed herein, while being 100% correct, also belong to the expresser of the opinion, the channel, and the show, but not necessarily any of our sponsors, including the Kush Gang, Firehouse, or the Hidden Leaf. Website. Check out the website for times and events. The website is thehiddenleafcville.com. That's thehiddenleafcville, all one word, .com. All right, that's the ad read. Now, Danny, hi.
Yes. Hello, Trevor.
Welcome in.
It's good to see you. I want to let you know I took a little picture of you so that when we were talking today, I scanned it and printed it out. So I've got a little picture of you right in front of me. I'm talking to it. So it's kind of like you're here with me.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
Yeah. It's color.
Nice.
Yes.
And as you can see, we've got your YouTube page pulled up, and that's got a picture of you there. And I was saying to the ASOC Prod and the Peanut Gallery, to me, you look like a musician mad scientist. You look like you are about to invent a rock and roll time machine.
Well, I have frequently told people that I'm trying to create a revolution in the consciousness of our musical times, which is kind of based on something Norman Mailer said back in 1959 in his advertisements for myself, when he said he just put, anything out there. And he was trying to create a revolution in the consciousness of our times. So I just changed it to the consciousness of our musical times. But the look is pretty much just, I get up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I stay this way for the rest of the day.
It's, it's a good look. It's very rock and roll. And
well, I tell you,
it really after you.
I can't really say that I've done too much for it. Back in the day, back in the 80s, I'd blow dry it, and get it to look like, big hair.
Right.
But these days, that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
It's a little silly.
It's a little silly.
Big paint like I do.
So. I will say, I've listened to some of your music. I've listened to a few here on YouTube. Your music strikes me as very blues rock based, sort of, very blues rock based stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Even even your soulful ballads are musically fun.
Well,
You
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's supposed to be entertaining.
it
It's when I listen to music, when I go to hear bands, what I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really listen to music a lot because for me, I listen to it kind of differently from other people. It's not like it's work, but it absorbs my attention completely. So if I'm like doing something with other people or something, or if there's something else to do, I don't have music in the background, that kind of thing. So
I get that.
yeah,
I get that.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I like to, if you just want to hear good music, you can put on my CD. But I recommend that you come to see me play either with Skip Castro or when I do the Spudnuts with Morgan Moran. It's a lot more fun because uh, I think when you go out to your music, there should be a show. There should be some type of uh, stage show and something that
right.
interests you and your eyes and involves you, makes you feel really good, makes you feel like clapping and dancing, and
And and
uh,
and visually interest is visually interesting. I mean, after after bands like Jethro Tull, you can't just go be boring on stage anymore.
no, and I
You know?
remember when the Beatles first came out, we were also impressed by the fact that they played their instruments and sang, which was the only other band I could think of that did that was Four Seasons. They did that,
Okay.
uh, and one or two other bands, but and so just standing there and playing was in and of itself impressive. And really it is to this day. But, after Michael Jackson, after Jethro Tull, as you said, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, James Brown, let's give credit where
James
credit's due.
Brown, of
James
course.
Brown and Little Richard,
P
those
Funk,
guys.
the P Funk All Stars. Oh my goodness.
Hey, Elvis.
Yeah,
Elvis was
Elvis.
incredibly animated, and Jerry Lee Lewis. These guys were exciting to see.
And
They were animated.
you try to keep that energy going. You try to keep that up. Um
Well, yeah, I do. It kind of comes to me naturally. I get very excited when I play, and I try not to do the exact same thing every time. I try to mix it up, so that's fun for me, and I kind of go out on a limb musically sometimes, which is fun. You know.
that is fun. Let's listen to a quick snippet of music. Uh
Wow, you are so technologically advanced, Trevor.
we're going to go ahead and play That's Danny Beirne here, something I've listened to already. And let's check out that maniac on keyboard. Um,
Let's do it.
oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think
look,
this is Boogie Woogie Country Girl. This was Skip Castro.
this was Skip Castro. All right,
Yeah, yeah.
it's that hit thing is, oh man, so much fun.
It is. It
Danny
really,
Beirne is
really
one of the most
is.
versatile, energetic, and
It's a
powerful
lot of
stage
fun.
performers I've ever had the
Oh, there's
Charlie
Charlie.
let alone
Pasterfield.
working with.
Oh
He's
yeah,
one of my
Always
one of my
surprised you
best
when
friends, a dear friend,
I've never seen him
really
fail to connect with an
talented guy, and also talk about a pro musician.
yeah,
He's like one of those guys who, if you're on time, you're 15 minutes late. He's really
yep.
he's he's
Yeah.
he's just so. It's good to
Right
have
in
him
the
on my
most of
side.
So how long have you been working with Skip
Are
Castro?
taxes still on your to-do list?
from the
Get them
time
done
we
for you.
from the time we formed back in 1970. 77 was the Cruise Masters, and we had our first job uh, New Year's Eve, 1978. So 1978, January 1st, 1978. And we were together for 10 years, full time touring. And then we stopped touring and just started playing a more select job in 1988. We all did various different things. Charlie worked with Jimmy Carpenter, who
Mm-hmm.
I in with the Believers, and whom I got together with in Las Vegas because he lives in Las Vegas, and I was living there for the past 7 years. I just moved back here about 6 months ago, thanks to the many friends and fans who actually gave to a fund drive to get me back here.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. That's crazy.
yeah, but I got to tell you something rather amusing. As soon as I told Steve Riggs this, he started a fund drive to get me back out to Las Vegas, to get
Ha!
me out of there.
You
That's
know,
Steve.
that's actually kind of how you have to get out of Charlottesville is somebody has to literally put effort into prying you out of this town. It's like that around here.
It is.
Um
It is. I always come
A
back.
black hole.
what was that?
I said the area is like a black hole.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. There's a reason why they call it the hook. You know, it's just
Mhm.
once you're here, they got you hooked.
Yup.
But it's a very it's a very creative community. It's in the you know it's in the heartland of the Blue Ridge Mountains and the
Yup.
it's the foothills, I should say. But it's a very bucolic setting, very conducive to creative things. And if you're like me or a lot of people who live here who kind of spend a lot of time in the realm of the imagination, as any writer or artist does. And this place is very inspiring to that.
It
And it's
it
a great place for bands to perform because they can find a little shack out in the country where nobody complains about the noise. And, it's great. It's a
yeah.
great city. Yeah.
I do feel like Charlottesville has once you've become Charlottesville famous or Charlottesville infamous, it can be hard to break into the national scene after that.
Yeah. Yes. It's like,
Um,
here I am. What's the matter with all of you people? I'm here.
right, right, and there's I I feel like without saying anything controversial, I
Oh,
will
Trevor, go
say
ahead.
I feel like it's the curse of living in the shadow of Dave Matthews Band. You know, they they pried themselves out of here, got nationally big, and then Charlottesville became where Dave Matthews is from.
Mm-hmm.
And with
I could agree with that to an extent because when you get that big, it's Charlottesville is just that place to the world where
right,
Dave Matthews is from, where there was the
right,
the riots like 4 years ago.
the
That's
2017 thing.
it wasn't really a riot, but it was
It was a
terrible.
situation. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Um,
But anyway, yeah, it's like I think that when the Beatles made it out of Liverpool, well, Jerry and the Pacemakers really were not much competition.
right,
Uh,
exactly.
so,
Um,
yeah.
and I don't think, I think Charlottesville's going to have to produce. Uh, I think Charlottesville would have to produce at least two more national groups for that curse to be broken. Um, and they'd have to be mainstream national. Bands like Bella Morte went national, went international, and national in their subculture, but they never broke to mainstream. Uh,
I wouldn't want to. I mean, I pride myself on never having sold out,
that
and to
is
that point, I think that some of my music is very, just by its nature, commercial. It's hooky. It's kind of there's a sing along
uh,
quality, I hope, to it, and so I feel like if the world, first of all, I've become nationally famous not by having a hit record or being on TV or being on the radio. I've just moved from one big city to another and
Right.
played there for a few years, becoming
Right.
famous in that city, then moving on. So it's like I have a certain following, and even if I got big, there are people like you know Edie Brickell or
Hmm.
J.J. Cale or a lot of people who are niche markets. Tom Waits.
Yep.
They've never made it to be a commercial success, but they are big money wherever they go because they have a rabid following that can't
Yes.
get them anywhere else, and that's kind of
Uh,
the angle I'm taking now. Because of, I mean,
that actually, yeah. Oh gosh, what's his name? Uh, Blank in the Range.
Bruce Hornsby.
Hornsby, who
Yeah,
plays with.
he's an old friend of mine. He used to
Right.
come see me play at the Mine Shaft before he made it big, and he'd be standing next to my piano and just watch me play. And I met him. He's a lovely guy. His brother, I'm still in touch with, John.
Yeah.
But it's just, and he wasn't from here. He was from Williamsburg, I think, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
Uh, and
Uh,
he plays with John Dirth. John Dirth has played with him forever.
I did not know that, but I do go see John Dirth every Thursday night. I
Oh
knew
yeah.
John. He was one of the first people I ever knew in Charlottesville. I was in a band called Rose Valley Special in 1974,
Wow.
and the lead singer, Kathy Zuber, she took me to see them, and I was going out with her at the time, and she introduced me to Cosmology. They were coming
Okay.
down from New York. It was John Dirth and uh, his wife Dawn,
Yep. Who
who
still
was
sings with him?
no,
No,
she
she doesn't.
unfortunately passed away about
Oh.
5 or 6 years ago. But
Oh
unbelievable
no.
singer, yeah. But she was just an
Yeah, she
unbelievable
was.
singer.
I used to see her. I used to see her at Miller's because I worked there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I worked there. I worked that shift at Miller's, and so it would be you know I'd hear John Dirth and the John Dirth experience play, week after week after week, and Dawn would sing with them, especially later in the night.
Yeah,
And when you'd really get the real jazz jams was
yeah.
after the bar closed. When here I am trying to take the trash out, and they are doing these jams that are just insane.
Yeah, you
Like
can't stop it.
no, like real jazz moments.
Yeah, yeah. Well, John is he thinks music. He's like
He
me.
does.
He's one of these guys who just he's always doing something musical, and it's such a thing that if I walk into a room and there's a guitar or a piano, I'll just go start fooling around with it.
Right. Right. I
And
get that.
it's better than talking to people, or it's and but he's that way too. I
Yeah.
saw his birthday was last week, and I sang him "Happy Happy Birthday, Baby," a
Oh,
song
sweet.
by the Tune Weavers. It's like "Happy Happy Birthday, Baby." Although you're with somebody new, and I was singing it for him, and he was looking at me like, where did you get this song from? It's so great.
I know
But
that.
yeah,
I know that look on his face. I've seen that look on his face before. That like confused joy.
yeah,
Um. Yeah.
bemused.
Bemused. He was the first person to give me any sort of musical encouragement in my life. Um, he he taught music at my high school, or at the school I was going to from middle school through high school. And he saw me
You were
one
lucky.
day. He saw me walking past the music room one day, and I was looking really angry because I was really angry. And he sat me down
You,
and
Trevor?
really,
You angry?
you know,
Nah,
yeah, right.
I can't picture
Well, I'm well medicated now.
that.
He sat me down in front
Thank
of some
God for drugs.
drums and had me go off, and he said the kindest possible thing after I was done. He goes, "You have a very interesting sense of rhythm."
That sounds like John.
Yep, yep,
The
that was
diplomat.
really kind.
Never the diplomat. Yeah, John. John was just, he blew my mind, and his whole band blew my mind. And they all were different players from me. But again, as you pointed out, I'm a blues player, and all jazz is rooted in the blues.
Yep,
All rock and roll is rooted in the blues.
yep,
John Lennon put it very well when he said the blues is a chair that we all sit in. And
yep,
whenever we are expressing ourselves, we sit in that chair that is the blues. And it's like, before the blues, there was no 12-bar format. There was no 8-bar format.
right.
That was entirely the blues. And now every single pop song the world over is an 8 or 12-bar format. So
Pretty much,
there's
yeah.
the blues. There's the blues right there. And it's just, I think that a lot of times when people say, "Oh man, that's not the blues," they're talking about that's not blues entrenched in the blues tradition of Memphis or Chicago blues,
Right.
and that sometimes can be irritating because, as I say, blues are everywhere. They're in everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And because blues borrowed so heavily from so many other sounds, so many other regional musical dialects, if you will.
well, the southern,
Yep.
the Delta blues was definitely based a lot on the shouts and call and responses
Mhm.
that the the cotton workers, the black, sharecroppers, they would be singing while they'd be working, and doing this and creating this form unconsciously.
Yep.
And then people like, Muddy Waters and McKinley Morganfield, and well, that is Muddy Waters. But Willie Dixon, that's what I'm trying to
Yes.
think of, and Howlin' Wolf, they came along and electrified it,
Yep.
and took it up to Chicago, and then there was Buddy Guy, and it blossomed. But the blues, I don't think they didn't borrow; they were creating for the first time,
I mean,
this form. But
yes.
yeah, it was a lot from that, and also the African rhythm was
Hmm.
that 4/4 meter, and they were fascinated. The African people in Africa, from what I understand, were entranced by the harmonies and the sound of the European diatonic scale. They thought it was beautiful. They
Right.
didn't know what the missionaries were talking about when they were trying to shove their morality down their throat. But
But
when
the
they heard
diatonic
them
scale.
sing, they heard those guys sing, they went, "Whoa!" They shut right up because it was, it's
It,
impressive.
yeah. The diatonic scale is. I mean,
That-
it's oddly resonant. It works really well sonically. Like it's very appealing.
right.
Um.
You could do it so much for the melody, but the African scale, the is much greater. I think
Yeah.
there's 22 tones, the 12 note diatonic scale. It's
Yes.
that's That's what it is. But in Africa, there's more like 22 tones, 22 different pitches in between those half steps that we hear.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It's proven to be a very viable, very flexible form. And with just 12 notes, it sure seems like you can do an infinite number of things with them. So anyway,
Pardon me.
by the way, I just want to tell you folks that I called Trevor and said I had a bit of a cough today. And I wondered whether maybe we should reschedule. And he said, "No, I think we'll be okay."
I mean, as long as your voice isn't being stressed, there's a lot of coughing on stream. It's a 420, it's 420 friendly stream. It happens, man. If I try
Speaking of which, I love your sponsors. I just love your
thank
sponsors.
you. This has been a bit of guerrilla marketing on my part. I went out and basically decided that these three groups were so cool that I wanted them on my stream, and sort of started shouting them out, and then went to them and said, "Is this okay?" And they
went,
were
"Absolutely not." You said, "Okay, I'll do it anyway." No,
right. If they'd have said no, I'd have stopped. I mean,
of course.
And
frequently it's easier to get forgiveness than it is permission.
Yes. Although I don't like operating under Stewart's law of retroaction, at least in personal relationships, because I have seen where that leads in personal relationships, and it ain't good.
Well, anything where you dominate, it's always good to try and pull back and listen to what the other guy's saying.
Right.
What was it I wanted to tell you? I have been getting into poetry.
Oh.
And I've been a lyricist. I've written thousands of lyrics, but lyrics are very different from poetry. Poetry can be standalone. Charles Bukowski is a poet, and I love that form of poetry. But it's very serious. It's not like lighthearted like the stuff that people hear me do with Skip Castro and a lot of my musical performances. But I really think that if you like poetry and you like this kind of free form, serious kind of deep, somber type of poetry, I'd like to read it to you. Can I just read you? It's not that long.
Please.
Okay. Again, very serious. Just don't think Danny Beirne's coming here. This is like poetry.
Please share with us.
I once met a girl from Calcutta whose breast she could milk like an udder. When of this I learned, her secretions I churned, and now that's how I make my butter. What do you think? I think that's really deep. I think it's really very profound. There's a lot of socially redeeming, resonance. Okay. It's poignant, very timely, I think.
I agree. That was entirely unexpected, wonderful. A round of applause for that.
Well, I'm just getting started on this, but poetry is so it can get so deep, So, when I get blue, when I feel like I can't express myself, I go to my pen and paper and I come up with these deep thoughts.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Please, if you have any more to share with us, we're all ears.
Well, I'm all ear hole. So, I'm trying to think. Well, I could tell you a really great story about when with the band Skip Castro in 1985. We were doing an oldies show, and the headline act was Chuck Berry. and
Oh,
we were
wow.
going to open up for him. And then before us, there were two other bands that did like doo-wop music and dance music from the 50s. And Chuck Berry was up while the second act was playing. He was up in the promoter's office trying to get some cash because he owed the government $250,000 in back taxes. And so whenever
Oh,
he got paid $10,000, and they gave him $5,000 in a check that was his, and $5,000 they had to put into an escrow account.
Oh,
And
wow.
and he said, "Well, I need some cash." This was back in the mid '80s, and he
Mhm.
needed cash. Uh, and the promoter said, "Our hands are tied." And when I heard this, I was infuriated because, for goodness' sake, the guy is Chuck Berry. Pull
Right.
$20 out of your pocket, you
Right.
know. It's like, but they stuck to their guns and they didn't give any. So he just stormed on stage in the middle of the second act before we went on or anything. And meanwhile, I was in the basement doing various, things that are attendant to the rock and roll lifestyle. And I come walking up out of the basement, chain smoking like 3 cigarettes at a time. And the my bass player says, "Hey, Dan, Charlie Pastorfield." He said, "Dan, do you want to go play with Chuck?" And I said, "What? I thought we were supposed to open up and then him." And he said, "No, he's up there right now." And he just kicked the piano player off the stage. So I walked up and I had my back to him. The stage was set up so the keyboard was the keyboard player would have his back to the center of the stage.
Mhm.
And Chuck, when I walked on, I saw him and he was yelling at the bass player. And I just sat down. And so the poor band, first of all, I mean, doo-wop music is not like Chuck Berry music, which is
Yeah.
it's and doo-wop is like da 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 da
Right.
da ooh, it's fun music, but it's very different. So they didn't know how to play his stuff, and I sat down at the piano, and I immediately started doing some Johnny Johnson licks. His piano player. I mean, I cut
Right.
my teeth on learning that stuff. And I didn't see this because my back is not my back was to him, but he he hears me play the piano and just does an about face very dramatically, looks at me, and then duck walks across the stage to right behind me, and I'm like playing. The audience is going nuts, and I'm playing like kind of like a solo,
Mhm.
because I'm just filling. I'm just nobody else is doing anything. So the crowd's going nuts because they're seeing him do this, but I don't see it. So I'm thinking, whoa, I must be really playing well tonight. Man, people are digging me. And then I looked over my right shoulder, and there was Chuck Berry looking over my shoulder, looking at what I was doing. And he looks at me and he gives me a big smile and nods his head and says, "Yeah." And I went,
Wow.
wow.
"Thank you." And then he walked up to the mic. He let me take a solo. That's the thing that really amazed me
Wow.
because
He let you take a solo.
he never lets musicians take a solo. And he let me take a solo. And when he's done, my hair was like a big afro, like really, really large afro. And he walked up to the mic after I played my solo and said, "He ain't white."
Oh,
Like,
nice.
and that's like the ultimate compliment coming from him.
It really is. Um, let's
So
see.
that happened.
That seems like that loads up this clip where it appears like you have a lot of hair going on. The clip's called "There Was a Buzz." Shall we
Oh yeah,
watch it?
yeah, 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 yeah. Let's watch that.
All
That's my
right.
favorite clip. My favorite clip. And this is from 1980,
1980.
and we're playing Charlotte, Double Door In.
Oh my God! Look at that hair! Look at those
Yeah, I've often
hands!
said that if you don't put on a good show, well, then people can just stay home and listen to a CD.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit perfect. Hello, young lovers, wherever you are.
Danny's never been demure and restrained. Let me make that straight right from the beginning.
Oh, there's Corky stood over. There's me, another 70 pounds heavier than I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a doughboy.
For a little while,
We didn't want to.
you've gotten back down to about the size you were back in the old days, though.
Well, yeah, I lost a whole lot of weight a few years back, but I kept it off, so that's good.
That is good. That is good. We're all about healthy weight loss here.
Well, but that's the key word. Make sure you do it. Don't
Healthy.
stop eating. Don't stop eating,
Right.
and don't just do something like I did. Have a nervous breakdown.
Right. Right. Don't do what I do and use the rock star diet. Just if you're gonna lose weight, do it healthy. Don't do what I do. Do what I say. Don't do what I do, kids.
Now that's very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to say I'm not an example. A lot of kids or people ask me if I give lessons. I'll say, well, yeah, but do you want to learn to play like I do? Because it's kind of very different from anybody else, and it's not like classical. I kind of throw the rules that they give you for classical piano playing out the window. I play with fingers outstretched frequently, and you're always supposed to keep your fingers curled. And I approach the piano with both my hands wide open, so that I could do octave work, I could do stride work, and this is just the way I've observed guys like Pinetop Perkins, and I mentioned Johnny Johnson. These guys, they approached it like that as well. And I first heard that style of playing when I heard Leon Russell with Joe Cocker back in 1970, 1969.
Okay.
Leon Russell is still, in my opinion, the best rock and roll piano player of all time.
I hear. I didn't think about it until you said it, but I hear a lot of Leon Russell influence in you when you said.
Oh yeah.
When you said the guy who plays for Joe Cocker, I was like, oh, I get that. I see that now. I can hear that.
Yes.
I find your handwork incredibly interesting. It was it's what made me feel like we had to watch videos of you playing. It is. How did you learn it? Did you watch and practice, or did you find somebody who did that to teach you?
More the first, but how I wouldn't say I learned it so much as I was classically trained, and I started writing songs very early, very young, and I even put together a full-scale opera when I was 14 years old. And this was just on my own, just me being a kid instead of playing sports or anything. This is what I did, and as I was playing it, I'd be taking these classical piano lessons, and the piano teacher just really, I gave her a nervous breakdown because I never practiced the stuff she was giving me, but I did bunk a lot on the piano, and whenever I'd hear something on the radio, I'd try and play it. And but certainly writing was the main thing. Through writing, that was how I learned how to play the way I play. And then I read a book called Jazz Improvisation. I think it's by John Keegan. I think that's correct. But he put out 4 books, 4 volumes about jazz improvisation on the piano. And the thing he stressed was finger independence. And he just said, if you get good enough at your scales and at your dexterity with your digits, your brain can tell them what to do, and you don't have to practice it. You just simply think the melody you want to play, and your fingers will play it. And it's worked for me. It takes a lot of concentration, obviously. You have to think about melody lines when you're listening to music and think what note is that in the scale that they're playing there. That's why I said I listen to music differently. But it's like you do that, and then you can play a solo. You can do so much. It opens up the door to improvisation.
Wow.
So I think that's how I learned it the most. But when I sit down at the piano, I try to do that every day.
Okay.
And I really don't rehearse that much. I mostly just plunk, think of some songs I like and play them. I don't do like scales. I don't practice some. If there's a particular lick that I hear, you know what I mean by lick, like just a little play. Oh, no, that's an ostinato. That's like I'm talking about something like a thing where the piano goes.
Oh, okay.
And I go, wow, how does he do that? And I try to do it, and it's hard, so I will practice that.
Okay.
So that I can do that.
I was thinking the guitar lick that I used to start my practice with was always the opener for Aqualung.
No, but maybe you were doing Aqualung, but I thought you were doing Smoke on the Water.
No, I was doing. I meant to do. Da da da. Da, da,
Yeah, that's Smoke on the Water.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's Procol Harum.
Yes. No, I was doing Aqualung.
Yeah.
The other one that I would start with on guitar, and it was mostly to practice just getting my fingers loose, was the melody from oh my god, it's sliding out of my brain now.
Let me think. Let me try to help you. Yesterday.
It was
Melancholy Baby.
Sandy Denny Band, Fairport Convention.
Oh wow!
And it wasn't Matty Groves. It was Matty Groves. It was the melody for Matty Groves. I'd try playing that on guitar to limber up. Yeah.
Good for you. Good.
I mean, after 30 years doing it, I'm still terrible. But it was how I practiced.
Hey, after 32 years of me doing this and making a living at it, I'm still terrible. I actually got this great thing. I made a statement on Facebook, and as you said, we're going to talk music. But with everything that's happening these days, I thought I'd kind of take a stand and say some of the things I felt about this. And sure enough, a lot of people agree, but every now and then.
Feel free to make your statements, because I know we pretty much agree with you.
Well, I just want to tell you the story. This guy, here's what I have to say, and he sends me this thing saying, I think you want to just stick to attempting to play the piano.
Oh.
And it says, better yet, I'll delete you. And I felt bad because, first of all, I never delete. I mean, I have guys post things that are very grumpy and I don't delete them as my friends. It's like, this is America. We have a right to feel however we want to. Seriously.
Right.
That's part of the thing that we don't like about Trump, is that he's trying to make that something that we can't do anymore.
Right.
We can't teach what we want to teach. We can't read what we want to read. We can't say what we want to say. He's trying to impose upon us a totalitarian regime, but we're not going to have it, So anyway,
preach on.
I said I just wanted to tell the guy that I was going to use that. That's a great promo. Just picture it. Tonight, Danny Beirne takes another stab at playing the piano. You know,
I love it though. I do. It's
yeah.
it's how I feel every time I get up do my DJ stream. I'm like, well, I'm gonna try again.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the thing is that, I mentioned Norman Mailer earlier with advertisements for myself,
Right.
and he advertised that book by putting out the blurbs instead of saying, an important work of our time. He would find the biggest pans that people gave him, like the most pretentious author of our time and
Uh-huh.
worthless crud, and he would use that to sell the books, and it worked.
I love
It's
it.
just, yeah, it's
Love it.
just the old switcheroo. So speaking of the old switcheroo,
I'm gonna make a quick. I'm gonna do a quick ad read. And what were you gonna say?
nothing. I wasn't listening.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna do a quick ad read, and we'll get back to the interview momentarily. Also, I'm gonna say hi to Lockpick, who's been patiently waiting in the chat for me to say hi and hit on him. And also Kush Gang, who is in the chat. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Kush Gang. I love that name.
Well, that's their business name. You can see their logo on my there.
Oh, that's their logo.
Yes, the Kush Gang. They Frosty Fridays. You can find them up at Frosty Fridays selling baked goods and drinks. And sometimes flour, and they had some. Oh, I wanted to say they had some great flour that I tried last week. Just amazing. It was really good, guys.
Exciting.
Yeah,
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. Flower.
Um,
Just really fantastic.
and
I've always loved flowers.
You
Love
know,
weddings.
Hey, I do.
Funerals.
I'm down
Long
to
as
one
it's
funeral
flowers.
a
There are
year.
flowers that I like it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry. I tried to go on a roll there.
No. Don't be sorry. You did a wonderful job. That is
Thank you.
the kind
Thank you
of
very much.
chaos we love here.
Thank you. I work so hard. When people tell me, Danny, you really should act your age. I'm like, no. That's like, I have worked really, I have concentrated on not growing up. And it was tempting to grow up. But
Right?
I said, no, I'm going to remain a child.
Forever.
I'm an old child now.
Growing old is mandatory. Growing up is optional.
Exactly.
Thank you. Hey, I love that guy. I love that guy. The Peanut Gallery has deep thoughts like my poem. You know what I mean?
He does. He really does.
He knows how to encapsulate deep thoughts into a few etymological tidbits that are just perfect. Just the adage of the moment. Always from the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah, why we keep him around?
Yes, that's why we keep him around. Now get back in your shell.
All right, so today's pre-rolls brought to you by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, Virginia. On the downtown mall, 105 West Main Street, above the Brick Suite 200, between the Green Cauldron and Hamilton's. A great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds. Hey, bud?
Okay, bud.
Yeah,
bud.
Yeah, bud. They have the lowest prices in town, according to my own personal highly biased research, by which I mean I was incredibly high when I did my biased research.
Your bias research.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to deny that.
I love you, Trevor.
Thank you. Love you too. Not
Thank
the
you very
same
much.
way that I love lockpick, though.
Well, I've lockpick. Take note.
Lockpick is my future ex-husband.
That's lovely. That's so
He's
cool.
he's gonna get me out of
Wait a
the
minute. What do you
U.S.
mean
This
ex-husband?
is yeah.
Your exit strategy.
That's not lovely. That's sad. What was that?
He's my exit strategy.
What was it? What was it? The cat said.
I said that lockpick is his exit strategy.
To
Oh,
get
you
out
said
of
okay.
to get out of the U.S. when things go terribly wrong, I can marry into Canada.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah.
Can't we just go up to Canada? Or no, they're not taking Americans.
Right?
No, they're
Not
saying,
right
"You gotta
now.
go
We
up."
can't. Not right now.
Right.
We can't. We gotta have good reason to go up there, and they do not want us to stay.
Yeah, that's just too bad. Well, I can always tour up there
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
and just get lost while I'm up there touring.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, Trevor,
but-
did you see Kush Gang's question for you?
Can you
No.
play any music you want on your DJ stream? No, I can't play any music. There are certain things we're supposed to stay away from. I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to stay away from. Mainly, I avoid Metallica. You know.
Rick James.
Rick James? All right, I'll avoid Rick James.
I just said that. I was first
But
thinking
otherwise, I can play pretty much. Yeah, I can play. Fireman. Yeah, I can play any music I want.
Can you play
stream.
Doris Day? Can you play Doris Day?
Probably.
Doris Day. Doris Day. He was so pretty and had that cute little button nose, and she did those songs like "Que Sera Sera" and
Yeah.
"Everybody Loves a Lover," and she did that song "Perhaps," which Kate did a remake of.
Oh,
So,
that would be
But
fun.
she's hip. She's just hip, and nobody thinks of her as being hip. She's hip.
Lockpick says that we can play pretty much whatever we want as long as we don't play videos. Anybody who got dinged was playing videos. That's good because I don't play videos.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're safe.
Yeah, I mean, I play. I might get a content, a copyright, claim, but not an outright strike on this video when I post it to YouTube. But if I do that, it means that any money made off this video will end up going to Danny.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's because I've played his music on my video.
Suddenly I went Republican. Oh man, that is some good news there.
That's not
Did you say money?
Republican. That's not
Did
Republican.
you say money? Did you say money?
Right.
Is it April 15th?
I don't-
Every April 15th, I become a Republican for one day.
One day. I get that. I get that.
So they go, hey, boy, am I glad there's a Republican in office. Whew. Oh, man, these taxes are killing me. Then the rest of the year, I'm totally for, hey, what's an extra buck or two in
I'd like
taxes
to-
to help your fellow man?
I'd like to point out that the Republicans haven't done anything to lower our taxes at our level.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I'm saying that's what they run on. That's what people
That
think.
is
But
what
no,
they run
that-
on. Oh,
it's
it
quite the
is.
opposite. He blatantly raised taxes when he
Right.
started putting tariffs. Tariffs are taxes.
Oh
So,
my
yeah.
God. Their taxes. Their taxes on people who are too poor to argue.
It's shameless what's going on. But hey, I have been giving to the ACLU for years, and I've upped my giving. And, I've got a little card in my
Good.
wallet that says I'm ACLU. And you know, and of course I'm a member of the Black Caucus, and so you know, I do my bit. I was going to go to the protest today, and I said, "Charlie, are you going?" He said, "Oh man, I'm not going unless I can get a bulletproof vest." And I said, "Really? You think?" And then I talked to Morgan about it. She said, "Well, I see what he's saying. There's so much anger right now, and you're not a very violent guy, Dan. You know, you might want to think twice about it. You know, if you do go, like, stay in the periphery, stay on the outer edges of the crowd. So if something breaks out, you got an exit strategy. I've got a Trevor. I could do a Trevor. I got an exit strategy."
I'm not so sure I'm gonna have an exit strategy this time when I go to the, because I'm just gonna go covering it. I'm going with my video camera and my voice recorder, and I'm gonna talk to people.
Well, I would think that there's going to be a lot of police there, and after what happened several years ago, I would hope that they are a little more prepared for the possibility of things getting ugly and have, you know, troops ready to keep the peace.
I have the distinct impression it's, and I have no reason for believing this, by the way, other than I don't feel the electric charge in the air right now that I felt then. I don't think it's gonna pop off as bad. However,
Well, I
the
agree.
place they're doing this, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try and cover it. And try and yeah, and try and see the outcome.
Well, excuse me, they aren't to be compared because what happened years ago, that was a whole big convention of racists
Right?
who got
Like
together. This is not that.
Right. That's sort of the thing is like after the KKK rally went so peacefully, it felt like something had to pop off at the next racist rally in Charlottesville. You know?
It's just too bad that I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like I say, I live in the realm of the imagination, and
Yep.
to think as I try to put myself in other people's heads, try to see what motivates them. And when I go into these heads, it's a very sad thing when you have that much anger, that much hatred, and you're not stupid, but you guard yourself against thinking the way someone who might be smarter thinks because it's not the dogma that you're
Right.
used to. And it's
Right.
just it's unfortunate that our electorate has taken this turn. But, you know, I really feel very good about the fact these guys are digging their own graves. And
I'm with you on that.
there's a lot of people who will always straight to the end. And loyalty is not a bad thing. But at the same time, I just think there's so many people who were undecided and who might have voted Democrat if it weren't for the fact that it was Cavill after they thought they were voting for Biden, and they thought, well, these guys are clueless, which
Right.
is, you know.
I mean,
So,
to be fair and balanced, it's not like the Democrats have their shit together.
oh, no,
I dropped my one curse word this week.
They definitely. I
Right.
couldn't agree more. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's necessarily tactically the right thing to do for us to try to live by our own rules because the Republicans are constantly pushing the envelope and breaking rules, and we will chastise our own for breaking rules. And I'm thinking, you know, this isn't working this way.
Right.
If
Like,
people are fighting dirty, you got to fight dirty too.
Right.
But really, the whole thing would be solved if we got rid of Citizens United and no more political advertising. John McCain put it beautifully, one of the greatest Republicans. One of the reasons why I used to like talking with Republicans, because you'd give each other different points of views,
Right.
and they were given intelligently and rationally. But anyway, he said that the people who drafted that law don't understand how democracy works, and he was right. Because now all we've got is propaganda and people believing it. Because people just, I'm not saying people are stupid. I'm not saying if you vote for. As a matter of fact, I think if you vote for Trump, you might be just as smart as I am, or smarter. But you're misguided.
Right.
You're misguided. You're believing something that is not real. And it doesn't take an Einstein to know that guy is lying through his teeth. It's like drunk uncle without the booze, when you hear him talk.
Right.
It's just,
Right.
It's silly.
That is so. You are completely correct in all of that. Like, it's not like people are stupid, but it's not like they're believing. They're being fed in their echo chamber this crazy stuff.
And it's important for us to stay away from that echo chamber in the Democrats, in the Republicans. Remember to always think liberal, think compassionately, think what is the kindest, what is the, there's a way.
Think critically. Use real scientific critical thinking skills. And this is coming from somebody who is very religious, by the way. I am highly religious. I'm a very pagan, but I'm very religious.
With the accent on highly.
High.
Yes.
You got to that one before I did.
Yeah, he did. He's on it, man. He's on it.
Hey, listen, you can wake me up at 4 a.m. Well, actually, I go to bed around 4. You can wake me up at 6 a.m, and I can give you 20 minutes of professional show business entertainment. I'm a pro. Actually, my girlfriend would say it's maybe 3 minutes tops, but still. It's
it's all about how you measure time, though.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Trevor. I'll tell her that.
Because we all know this is 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
Bless you both.
Did the peanut gallery just say something that I missed?
No, that was
No,
Kat.
that was me.
And what did you say, Kat?
Bless you both.
Bless us.
Oh, bless us. You see, you heard that you were religious. I said, bless you both. But,
no, I think that was Southern for something.
Yeah.
Feel free to interpret whichever way your little heart appreciates it.
Well, I'm sure at some point in the day I will sneeze and I'll take that bless you then.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, when people say have a blessed day, I love that. It's so sweet. But I kind of look at it and I go, is that another way of saying see you later?
Right.
It's just so nice. Have a blessed day. I love it. Very sweet.
I do too. And I've started saying it to certain friends who are very Christian, because I want them to have a wonderful day blessed by their God,
Mm-hmm.
It's been, but
I said, I usually, the thing I find myself saying a lot is be good to yourself. And
you broke up there for a moment.
I apologize. Hang on. Is that better?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, my phone is inside. I walked outside, so the earbuds. But yeah, I say, be good to yourself. instead of see you later or take it easy or have a blessed day, I say be good to yourself.
Be good to yourself. That's really. I like that one. Be good to yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, can't be good to anybody else if you're not good to yourself. And
I
this
agree.
is when when my girlfriend passed away, like about 2.5 years ago. It was very sudden, and I, didn't. I was thinking, I'll never find someone to love like that. For 18 years, we stayed together. We were still very affectionate, very physical with each other. It was a lovely relationship. So I forget where I was going with this, but it had something to do with what we were just talking
Be
about.
good
With
to
shock.
yourself.
Oh yeah, I realized I do have somebody. Me. I can love myself the way she loved me. I can remember how she loved me and do that for myself. Because I can't just immediately find another girl like that. That's unfair,
Right.
So I just have been operating on that. And it's cool because all my life, until she passed away, I always had a significant other, either a wife or a girlfriend or, somebody I was seeing and a main squeeze, And now it's just, I've been very celibate. And it's good for me, I think. It's a good little period of my life. But I'm ready to go, Kat. If you want to, if you want to set up a date, I think that
I
I'm
think
ready to
Peanut
go.
gallery. I don't share the peanut gallery with anybody. You can't have him.
yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't realize that.
No,
I apologize.
it's okay.
Fine.
Considering
You're
the
fine.
last guest that we had on that hit on Cat,
Oh my
this was
God.
downright charming.
Can you
This
blame
was
him, though?
cute.
Kat, you're fine. You're fine as fine in the summertime. You're fresh and you're cool and you're on my mind.
Um,
I did not have Saturday morning poetry in my cards today. Thank you.
Yep.
Saturday morning poetry, yes. Hey, Danny Beirne. What is it? Painting with Bob Ross. Poetry with Danny Beirne.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
Yep.
Poetry with Diddy. Oh, happy little accidents. I mean,
I love that guy. I swear to
Oh,
God.
he was.
I get stoned and I watch him and I go, whoa, whoa,
He was.
whoa.
He was something else. He was a very
Mhm.
special. I don't know what he was like in person, but I know that the joy that he brought to the universe was wonderful.
Well,
And he made so many people at least try to express
Mhm.
themselves through painting that I think it was a wonderful, that in and of itself was a wonderful and worthwhile thing.
it would really be I agree with you. I just was thinking about what you said. You didn't know what he was like personally. It would be great if we saw like outtakes or we saw a camera rolling while he's like they're going, okay, these pretty little actors, well, I'll see you next week. Cut. Okay, everybody, get off your asses and move it now. It just turns into something like, totally different person. And then he gets back up. Okay, now we're gonna be very a little tree. Where there's a big tree, there's a little tree. Cut. What are you?
Headcanon now for me. He has now Bob Ross has the Harvey Firestein voice. What are y'all doing sitting around? Come on, let's get moving.
That's also Michael Jackson around children, but that's another thing. He talks like this. He's with little boys and girls. It's hey kids, how you doing, kids? Uncle Michael's here.
Oh my God.
Sorry, that's terrible.
Wow. That was wow.
borderline taste there.
It
Because
is.
Michael Jackson was a massive talent, and when I first saw him on that Motown special, and he did that performance, that to this day, I mean, it was as exciting as Elvis and the Beatles, easily.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
he was a real great entertainer, a great songwriter, a great singer. Just a real sad thing that he died.
I think, and he was never allowed to be a person. Through all of that, he was never really allowed to be a person, and I think that's
And he tried. He
where
tried.
it unraveled for him.
It never was raveled in the first place. You can't unravel what's never been unraveled.
Right.
He was at the age of 5 watching his brothers pulling chains, the things that a 5-year-old shouldn't see,
Right.
and it was just, he didn't have a chance, so my heart goes out to him. But as I say, just listening to him and watching him, you're glad that whatever happened to him for the minutes you could sit there and just absorb his what he had to present to us.
The art is wonderful, and this always brings up a perennial question that I don't think that I can answer, even for myself, because sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But can you separate the art from the artist?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. There are artists like Modest Yahoo where I really can't. His art is by nature political. His music is by nature political. And so when he comes out in favor and support of Israel and the genocide in Gaza, I find myself going, oh, it's not a coincidence that you said Zion so many times in your music.
Yeah, but I understand that. I do take a similar view. I feel as though you can't help disagreeing with someone really passionately about something. Like, for me, it was Cat Stevens when he said that Salman Rushdie should be beheaded for writing satanic verses, which was the opposite side. That was, but it was, again, I just said that if you say you're religious and a person should be beheaded because they wrote a book, then you're not religious. You're just you're just one of the oppressors,
Right.
And I didn't like his music after that. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It tinted it.
It does.
And
on the other hand,
too, I thought Cat Stevens was great until that happened.
I can still listen to The Doors. Jim Morrison was a complete a-hole, but I can listen to The Doors.
Yes, he was. Did you ever see the special on David Crosby? David Crosby, it was just, I followed him around for like 2 hours and talk and crack wise. He's a very funny guy. And he talked about Jim Morrison, and he just said, what a dork. He said it was a complete self-absorbed, bullshit artist. Yeah. So, but again, people might say Danny Beirne is saying that. No, I loved The Doors. I really did. And Jim Morrison was sexy as all get out when he got up on stage. You couldn't deny the attraction. He had a great voice. He wrote some great songs. He wrote some pretty, I have to say, you can't forgive some of his lyrics. There's a killer on the road. His mind is squirming like a toad. Please, that's just what?
Yeah.
But he was pretentious in that way, but he was really fun, and they had some great jams, and
Yep.
Again, it's just sad that he died because he might have matured into something better.
Right. But
that song, "Touch Me," I love that song. And, "Hello, I Love You," that's a great song.
Yeah.
So there's some great rockers that they did.
So also, Soft Cell. You know, what's his name from Soft Cell was a bit of a jerk, but you know,
Well, it's my
Tainted
personal
Love
opinion.
is still something that I can spin on my DJ. You know, spin as a
Yeah,
DJ. You
yeah,
know, I don't
it's
feel bad
great
about
stuff.
it. I'm
I love that song.
I'm still figuring out where I stand on Lizzo.
Mm.
That's sort of the one where it's like, because
Well,
I have some feelings about fat phobia. Like, I personally have some very deep seated feelings about how wrong it is. And for her to be fat phobic against her own people was like, that's something that it's hard for me to, especially when her message is body acceptance, body positivity. It feels so disingenuous that I have a hard time coming back to her music.
well, it's funny in the 30s and 40s. Looks had absolutely nothing to do with the selling of music. I mean, it wasn't until it was the song "Video Killed the Radio Star." Nothing could be truer.
Right.
TV was the first time we got to see some of these people, but you just heard it on the radio, and they weren't necessarily young people or good-looking people or skinny people or fit people or
Right.
and I think back to like Kate Smith, who was a huge worldwide success, and she was the woman who made a hit out of "God Bless America," and
Okay.
she was the big fat homely woman who sang her guts out, and everybody from opera singers to kids just loved her because she had a great voice, you know. It's like now that's changed a lot, and it's Lizzo weight, appearance are such shallow things to judge people by, and so often I was talking about how when I was out with Kathy Zufer years back in the Rose Valley Special, she was overweight, and I loved that. I thought it was really cool because here I was, this super hippy dippy guy with the really, really wide hair. It wasn't long; it was wide, and
Right.
uh, and when we stood there, I weighed 120 pounds and I was 5'11". So when we stood together, we looked like the number 10, but we were just this. I just think people put too much emphasis on what is commonly thought of as beautiful, and they're not trusting their own personal senses of what's beautiful and what's not beautiful.
I
You know,
agree. I agree with that
and
statement 100%. I
when I see a
personally,
nude of any woman, I just love it. It doesn't matter whether she's fat or not. I just love the fact that I know she feels good at that moment. You know,
yeah, I get that. I get that. I get
if
that.
you live in the imagination, then you can see what I'm talking about. It's like that's why I always think that the inner beauty is there, and
I
that's what you should look for.
yes,
Corny,
exactly.
it's corny, but it's true.
But it's true, and it's part of why I think almost uh, uh, everyone everyone is attractive in some way. I can feel an attraction to anyone in some way.
Yes, I can see what you're saying.
It's
Yes, Will
it's
Rogers.
part of the I love everyone
Yeah, or I
mindset.
never met a man I didn't like, or I never. He said a
Right.
man, never met a person I didn't like.
Never met a person I didn't like. Right.
Yeah, it's Will Rogers. Of course, every now and then I meet somebody. I go, I don't think Will Rogers ever met that guy. But
Right.
in general,
Yeah.
And there are people out there that I'm like, oh no, not
yeah,
you,
yeah,
not
it
you.
makes
Some
it
I'm
people
tough.
make it
sorry.
harder than others.
This is true.
Some people are what more than others.
Some people make it harder to like them than others.
Exactly, and that's what makes me less attracted to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Well, no one can blame me for that, Trevor.
Uh, so
Hey, Trevor,
we're running up on 1 o'clock. Yes, Danny.
I wanted to thank you before we went any further. When I first met you at the Hidden Leaf, you were gracious enough to invite me to do this, and then you pursued it. And there were times that I was just like busy because I had just gotten back here from Las Vegas. I was trying to get
Right.
something going musically. I didn't want to just go out and play solo, so I got Morgan to play with me, and you pursued this. Kept saying, Danny, when can we do this? So thank you for having me on. It's great meeting you, Kat, and the Peanut Gallery, and Kush. Great meeting you, Kush. The people who follow you on the stream, as I will be in the future.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the service you provide. For years I streamed. I think I told you that. I
Yeah.
streamed a live music show, and you can watch it on Twitch. You can watch it right now, or you go to twitch.tv and the Danny Beirne too. But in any case, I appreciate what you're doing. There's a lot of people who are the shut-ins and they can't go out, and this is something they do. They check out the internet, what's on, and this is good that you're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I really appreciate that. I'm really glad that you also stayed interested in this, because it did feel I felt like we were
Dancing.
kind of I felt like we were pushing you off there for a little while because we had some other things that we were really trying to get through. And then and I felt really bad about that. So I was glad that you were willing to wait for the right time for it to happen too. So thank you. Also,
No. Thank you.
We already have one Canadian in the chat. We're good.
Is that what
who will
Canadians
be
do?
Lockpick is a Canadian, and no, you're not sorry, eh? I know you. You're not sorry at all. You're sorry that you're not sorry, but you're not sorry.
So this guy walks into a piano player walks into a bar, wants to get a job as a house piano player. And the manager says, well, audition for me, play me something. So the guy sits down and he plays the most beautiful song the manager has ever heard. I mean, the guy gets a little lump in his throat when he hears it. And at the end of the song, he says, that was beautiful, pal. You got the gig. You can start tonight. It's $200 a night if you could have showtime at 8 o'clock. And the guy says, great, I got the gig. And he says, but was that a song that you just played? Is that one that you wrote? And he goes, yeah, I wrote that. He goes, that was beautiful. What do you call that song? He says, I call that song Drop Your Pants Down Around Your Knees and Take a Turn on the Floor. Have you heard this? Have I ever told you this?
No.
Okay, so he says, well, listen, you got the gig, but before you leave, could you play me another one of your original compositions? That last one was so beautiful. So he plays him another one, and gosh darn it, if it isn't even more beautiful and more poignant than the first one, and the bartender now is openly weeping, hearing it. And he goes, that was just beautiful. What do you call that? He says, I call that gouge your eye out with a shrimp fork. And he goes, Okay, well, do me a favor tonight when you play your songs. Don't announce the names of the songs to the audience. It goes, hey, okay, no problem. I see it. So he shows up that night, and it is the rowdiest crowd you could ever see. There's bikers there smashing beer bottles against the wall, and pool players cussing while they're playing pool. And the guy gets up, solo piano, 2 minutes into his first set. You could hear a pin drop. The bikers have put down their beers, and they've got tears coming out of their eyes. And the pool players have stopped playing pool. Everybody's just in awe of this amazing musical talent. And at the end of the guy's set, audience gets up and gives him a 2 minute long standing ovation. And he goes walking into the restroom, and when he comes out, this guy sees him and says, hey, you know your fly's down, your dick's hanging out? And he says, know it? I wrote it.
I figured that's where that was going, but that's awesome.
It's kind of an oldie, but it's a goodie. It's an oldie, but not a moldy. I think Trevor hadn't heard it.
I'm amazed I haven't heard it. It is, oh my goodness, that is
a good joke.
It is a good joke.
Yeah, it's fun when you get to the point, the names of the songs.
I wrote it.
Everybody comes up with different names, but you got a picture like the Slim Whitman, like the TV, and with all his greatest hits. You remember Take a Turn on the Floor? And how about Gouge Your Eye Out with a Shrimp Fork? And his all-time classic, Your Flies Down and Your Dick's Hanging Out.
Oh my God.
It's just it's a good joke.
Oh,
yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Have you seen that movie, The Aristocrats?
I have seen clips of it.
Robin Williams tells that joke, and I love Robin Williams, but I think actually I tell it better. When he told it, he was like telling it almost perfunctorily.
Right.
Just, there's a joke that goes like this, but it's a documentary about a joke. It's actually quite moving. Yeah, but
the documentary is moving. The joke is awful.
Yeah, the joke is awful. But no, it focuses on a certain thing towards the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it just shows you the importance of humor and how at the worst times in our life, there's nothing like somebody who has the guts to get up and make fun of it. You know,
exactly,
and that's important. And it really, as I say, I was surprised to get choked up at Gilbert Gottfried, but I did.
Yeah,
I started because the way they present it, it's really moving.
It is, but he is. There's something about him that is very, in retrospect, is very poignant and very touching. You know, a beloved figure.
Oh yeah, guys like that. Jerry Lewis was ever since I was a child. Yeah. But everybody liked Jerry Lewis. But I love the kind of humor, just loudmouth, like talking. It's just it's funny. And by the way, when I first got sober,
to watch. Yeah, it's not. I don't do it, but it is funny to watch.
I used to do it like just for a goof, walking into a gas station and saying, hey, could I get $20 worth? And what are they going to say to you? Right. You know? You can talk just this really, really dumb way, you know? And people will look at you and go, is that the way he talks? You know?
I mean, I've considered doing it. I've considered doing it with my Jimmy Stewart. But
yeah, but everybody would know you're doing Jimmy Stewart. Well, but then again,
right? I mean, it's not hard to figure out who I'm doing an impersonation of. Also, have you met my friend Harvey?
I don't want to meet your friend Harvey.
Well, all right. It is, as I said, getting on towards 1 o'clock. And we do have this. Protest that we're going to try and cover this afternoon. So I think this is where I'm going to cut this short. But Danny, I would love to have you back on sometime.
Oh, I'd
Thank
love
you
to do it. Thank you.
so much for being here.
Thank you.
This has been absolutely amazing. Peanut Gallery Cat, guys, thank you for being here as always. And everybody in the chat, Darth Dragonis, Lockpick, Just Me Crystal, and Kush Gang, of course. Thank you guys. Much love. Thank you all. Did I remember everybody? Anybody else in the chat? Was everybody?
Nobody else in the chart. I think you've got Master Asta hanging out lurking, but.
Oh, Master Rasta, always. Much love to you, also. Much love to the lurkers. Stick around for the raid. And thank you, everybody, for being here. We may or may not be on tomorrow for Wait, Don't Tell Me, because we may be headed out to cover a tulip festival.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
There's
nice.
Master Rasta 420, my ex-husband-in-law.
Your future
My future
ex-husband-in-law.
ex-husband-in-law. Future ex-husband-in-law.
This X thing. It's so negative.
It's just that I know that I'm not the type to stay married.
Well, good for you. At least you admit it.
I know me.
What's the point anyway? What's the point?
Who
Why get married?
Realists
Why get married? To get the F out of the United States.
Oh well, to get married, now that's different. I mean, in general, yes, to get married. But yeah, if I meet a girl who I really like, I'll say, let's not get married because I don't want to, blow
Right.
it. Besides which, what's marriage? It's stupid. It used to be very good, but now it's bad. Okay, bye.
Yes. Now is the time on the show when I say, as we say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA, double deuces. We're out, y'all.